Welcome. The Passive Sampling Technology Update team is proud to present an overview of the thin-walled soil sampler technology. This quick video will provide a high-level overview of the device, as well as instructions on how to use, deploy, and retrieve the device. For more information on this and other passive sampling technologies, please visit the Passive Sampling Technology Update Guidance document. The thin-walled soil sampler is a rigid tube made from stainless steel, galvanized steel, or brass. The device is used to collect an undisturbed soil sample. For environmental investigations, the sampler can be used to collect non-aqueous phase liquids from within the soil column. They come in various dimensions, but the most common length used in environmental sampling is 30 inches long and 3-inch inner diameter. The most common thickness of the tube is 16-gauge steel, or approximately 1.5 millimeters. The sampling end has a chamfered edge, so the sampler can be pushed through soil with minimal to no disturbance of the inner soil column, and the drive end has holes cut out so it can be attached to the drive head of a drilling rig. A drill rig is usually required to drive the sampler into the sample interval. Once the sampling interval is reached during borehole advancement, the drill rods are outfitted with a drive head. The sampler is attached, and the assembly is lowered back into the borehole, and then pushed into the sample target zone. The site-specific sampling and analysis plan and data quality objectives should detail the depth and the length of the targeted zone for soil sampling and the maximum down pressure when advancing the sampler. To deploy the sampler, attach the thin-walled sampler to the drive head using the 3 bolts found on the drive head to affix the sampler to the assembly. The device will be lowered into the borehole, and the driller will push the thin-walled sampler into the soil to collect the sample. Once the desired depth is reached, the sampler is left in place for at least 10 minutes before retrieval. This allows for the proper collection of the soil into the sampler. The sample is retrieved by pulling the drill stem out of the borehole after the collection time has been reached. Once the sampler returns to the surface, verify that the sampler is full. There are 2 ways of sealing the thin-walled sampler depending on the data quality needs. Slide plastic caps onto each end, and wrap electrical tape around it to seal contents within. Or use wax seals by melting wax to pour at the top and bottom of the thin-walled sampler, and then add plastic caps to each end. Here are important things to keep in mind when using the thin-walled sampler. Only fine-grained, cohesive soils can be collected with a thin-walled sampler. Coarse-grained soils will dislodge from the sampler during retrieval. An acetate sleeve can also be used inside the tube to collect a sample, so the thin-walled sampler can be reused. The acetate sampler can be sealed using plastic caps. Depending on the sampling objectives, some samplers may have to be frozen or shipped on ice to preserve any non-aqueous phase liquid present in the sample. Remember, you can learn more about the thin-walled soil sampler and others in the ITRC Passive Sampling Update online guidance document.